We're going to start this week with a question. Do you desire a better country? I'll ask it one more time and think carefully about your answer. Do you desire a better country? If the answer is yes, then you need to think through Hebrews chapter 11. And if the answer is no, you need to think through Hebrews chapter 11. Now, essential to thinking through anything, essential to thinking through Hebrews chapter 11 will be reading through Hebrews chapter 11. And it's from Hebrews chapter 11 that we get our fighter verse for this week. And our fighter verse for this week will be Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. And Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 reads, "Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen." Let's read it one more time. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. So in coming to this fighter verse, we want to think like this. What does Hebrews 11:1 look like in everyday living? Hebrews 11:1 is a fantastic verse. It's one of those verses you should be keeping in your pocket all the time. But what does Hebrews 11:1 look like in everyday living? Now here's the really encouraging part. The rest of Hebrews 11 is filled with examples of what that looks like in everyday living. The whole purpose, the whole point of chapter 11, after reading verse 1, is giving us examples of what Hebrews 11:1 looks like in everyday living. I want to read this to you about these examples in Hebrews 11. These are examples of people who have laid hold on the future reward of joy with God in such a way that it makes a great difference in their lives here and now. One more time. Hebrews 11 is filled with examples of people who have laid hold on the future reward of joy with God in such a way that it makes a great difference in their lives here and now. And what you will see as you look at these examples are examples of people who deepened their confidence in God's promises. So as you think through Hebrews 11, and as you read through Hebrews 11, here's what should be happening to each one of us. It should deepen our confidence in God's promises. And imagine that makes a difference in our lives here and now. So what about that very first question? Do you desire a better country? Listen to Hebrews 11, verses 13 through 16. Speaking about these examples who took Hebrews 11:1 and applied it to everyday living. These all died in faith, not having received the things promised, but having seen them and greeted them from afar, and having acknowledged that they were strangers and exiles on the earth. So what do you think the first key is in living out Hebrews 11:1 and answering our question, do I desire a better country? Perhaps the first key is this, is recognizing that we as Christians are strangers and exiles on this earth. Now listen to verse 14. For people who speak thus make it clear that they are seeking a homeland. If they had been thinking of that land from which they had gone out, they would have had opportunity to return. But as it is, they desire a better country, that is, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared for them a city. So again, do you desire a better country? If the answer is yes, you need to think through Hebrews chapter 11. And if the answer is no, you need to think through Hebrews chapter 11. For Hebrews chapter 11 is filled with examples of people who have laid hold on the reward of future joy with God in such a way it makes a difference in their lives here and now. And so our fighter verse again for this week will be Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. And as you read through Hebrews 11, you are looking at examples of people that lived out Hebrews 11, verse 1 in everyday living. And so here's what I would like each of us to do as we go throughout our week, holding on to our fighter verse, and then reading Hebrews 11, verses 2 through 40, reading examples of people who lived out verse 1. I would like for us to do this. As you read through Hebrews 11, what are 3 things from these examples that I can apply right now to or in my life? And I'm looking for things to help me lay hold on the future reward of joy with God. What can I learn from these examples of how they laid hold on that future reward and deepened their confidence in God's promises right now? Make sense? I'll read it one more time. Here's the way to fight this week. To take Hebrews 11:1, our fighter verse, and here's the way to fight. Read Hebrews 11, think through it, and look for 3 things from these examples that I can apply right now to and in my life. Things to help me lay hold on the future reward of joy with God. And I'll end with this. I look forward to hearing from you of what you gained, the 3 things you gained to apply to your life right now from these examples.